Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. Normally, I would do my Sunday, though it's Monday morning, a chat today, which I will semi-do, but I've done a lot of chatting over the past couple of videos with the whole shopping trip. I just noticed my cardigan has a tear in the seam. I have to sew that up. So we will see. But what I am going to do is I normally do like a cook with me when I do the chats. And I'm going to test out my new TM7. So I've only just received it. I have only made one dish in it, which didn't go real well. And it was a made up dish. So, you know, to be expected that there will be fails. I am going to test it out with flatbread, which is something that I make all the time in my TM6. So I'm curious to see what the difference is, the difference in sound as well as everything else. And then I thought, because it's cold today, it's 11 degrees. It's not freezing, but it is 11 degrees out here. And because of my TN, my face and everything really doesn't cope very well with cold weather. So I tend to bundle up because it's just more comfortable. But it is 11 degrees today, so it is pretty chilly. So I thought I might make some soup. So because I've got all those button-up pumpkins, I thought I might do a Thai coconut pumpkin soup type thing with the flatbreads, and they can have that for lunch. So they're all doing school at the moment. It's 10 to 10, so I've got time to get it done for their lunch break. Daryl, it's Monday morning, so Daryl's leading his D&D group. I am going to run inside at 10 because the Macro Mike and a financial year sale is on. So I will put an order through for our protein powders that I really like. It'd be really nice to be sponsored by them, but they don't want to sponsor me because I think I'm just not, you know, fitness oriented and stuff enough. But we still buy them because they're still my preferred ones, especially for the kids because they're lots of different flavors and they're dairy free. But first, when I made that first recipe at Mum's place in the TM7, I gave the bowl a rinse, but I didn't give it a proper clean. So what I'm going to do is, first up, is I'm going to run a clean cycle on this bowl because there is only one bowl. That is the biggest downfall for the TM7 for me at the moment, is that you cannot get spare bowls, which is why my 6 will stay on my bench indefinitely. And then we will see how we go when there's extra accessories available for the 7 as to whether I will sell off my 6 or not. I can't really afford the power to run 2 of them, or the space. So if my 7 is good enough for me to use alone, then I will use it alone, kind of thing. But we will assess as we go. So yes, let's have a look and we'll run a clean cycle. Alrighty, so this is the 7. Now the screen is huge because it doesn't have the dial, and I think it's kind of neat to have that size screen. It's also waterproof. So with the 6, when you flick water on it, sometimes using the screen is really difficult. It just doesn't respond very well. It needs a clean, mind you, and it causes some problems. You have to dry the screen off to be able to use it. This one, we tried splashing water on it at Mum's and the screen still worked, which is an amazing thing, I find. So this is what happens when you start it up. It's got your trendings and things like that are here. So I did notice here there's a maple sweet potato soup, which could be done similarly with the butternut, but I think I'm just going to make the standard Thai coconut butternut soup that I make on the stove because because of the cold weather, the solar isn't real great at the moment and the kids are all on school. So I've got a litre of water in the jug and I'm just going to add a tiny bit of detergent and we're going to run a clean cycle because I left it after cooking the pasta just with some just with a rinse rather than an actual wash. So we're going to find the cleaning. So we're on the tools, pre-clean, and we're just going to do a quick one because it's not dirty as such, but it does need a clean. So there's different ones. There's universal dough, browning, fat or caramel, which does different temperatures and stuff needed to make sure that it's cleaned. Hopefully you guys can see this screen well enough to see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to hit play on that. And we will let it go and see what it does and listen to the sound level of it as well. All right, so my day got derailed. I was going to run a wash cycle, except that we had power issues because all the kids are on computers for school and it was overcast and things got thrown out of whack. And in the end, I did lunch and ignored it. And what I'm going to do is do the pumpkin soup for dinner. So it is now almost 2 o'clock. So instead of doing flatbreads, which is what I was going to do with lunch, I'm going to do a half batch of my brioche rolls and see if I can get it to work in the Thermix, see if the sizing is right. And then I will cut up and roast some pumpkin to make some pumpkin soup. I do need to finish pulling all of those chickens apart too. So it's been one of those days. So let's try this half batch of brioche rolls in the Thermix together. Anyway, I don't need to cook, but to do those, so the power usage is really low, so we should be perfectly fine. I just had to, it blew a power pack out, and I had to then get it plugged in somewhere else to get the bowl off, and it just was all just too hard. So let's see how we go. So the sound would have been great of that too. I said it's just one of those days. Okay, so I'm going to do a half batch of my brioche dough rolls that are up on the website. I've brought my website up because my notepad got wet in all the rain and stuff is smudged everywhere. So I've just brought the website up and I'm going to do a half batch of these, or give that a go anyway. So we're going to go to our scales. Let's see how this goes. We want 720 grams of warm water, so we want 360. And then we want 90 grams of coconut cream. We're going to go 15 grams of yeast, 15 to 20 grams of yeast, 75 grams of sugar. Now, most other people's scales are going to be a lot more reliable than mine, but because it's on a stainless steel bench that has a little bit of a curve to it, but also because our floor isn't particularly solid or flat, so every time I move to different parts of the floor and stuff, or put things onto the bench or anything, it screws with the scales, and that's just, we're used to that. Okay, and then we want 75 grams of oil, 10 grams of salt, 650 grams of flour. Alrighty, then we shall put our lid on. We will go into manual mode and I will do speed 6. Just to bring everything together. And then we will go for, let's start at 5 minutes on knead. No, hang on, we need to go out of manual mode because we're going to be kneading it. So we need to go into dough and it'll knead. And let's see how it goes after a couple minutes. The lack of a hole in the top, the old lids had these holes in the top, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people have been talking about. There is no significant hole in the top of this one at all, so it's very hard to view what's going on in the bowl. You have to pause it and check, but at the same time, when you pause it, there is no waiting for arms on the... There is a little bit of a delay, but nowhere near the delay that there is when you're waiting on arms to open up. So I do find the lid a little temperamental, mind you. So let's let that run for a few minutes and then I'll bring you back. So when it hit 2 minutes 30, it automatically stopped. So that might be like a little bit of a built-in thing here to say that, you know, most dough only takes this long to go. Now, this is the brioche dough, so it is a very wet dough, which is why I wouldn't normally do it in the Thermomix, because it's a little harder to get out and things like that. So much better to do it in the KitchenAid. And realistically, my flatbread dough is going to be the true tell of a dough in here, because that's the one that I always do in the Thermomix. But I really wanted to have a look at it. Coped okay with the quantity. The dough feels nice and elastic. I might put it on for another 2.5 minutes though, because it is a brioche dough, and brioche doughs regularly I would go for longer. So if I hit play again, might just do another 2.5 minute increment and then stop. We'll have a look. Let's see what it does. All right, so it didn't pause at another 2.5, it just kept going. So it must just be that initial 2.5, I don't know. And that looks much better. It's a much more, yeah. You could possibly go even just a touch longer, but I'm pretty happy with that. So we're gonna dip that into something. You can just proof it straight in the bowl, and the bowl is warm now, so, you know, like that would be beneficial. Though I'm not using it. Maybe I'll just leave it. I don't need it for anything else. And if it sits here, it's going to be, the bowl is warm because it was, the hot water was used and it has the insulation. So I'm going to leave it there to proof. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get the pumpkins out and cut it up. But I wanted to show you some of these, the lovely big screen with the images for the cookie dough. Now, I don't use cookie dough a whole lot, but Sonnet does. And I was having a look today because I was curious about some of the stuff on here. And like this, I've bookmarked this to make because we have all those zucchinis, and I love zucchini butter. And this is basically a zucchini sauce for pasta. I think that would be really nice. And I am liking this bigger screen. It's definitely got some benefits to it, and all our setup. So yeah, at the moment I'm going to use it all week, and I'll share it with you as for everything that I do. But it's pretty neat. I like it more than I expected to. So let's pull some pumpkins out. I don't know if I mentioned that Darryl bought me new knives last month for my birthday. So ages ago, I got sponsored by Victorinox, and I got given a knife as part of that sponsorship. And from that point, that was my favourite knife. That was the knife I always used. And so for my birthday last month, Darryl ordered me a couple more Victorinox knives, a nice big chef's knife and another one of the Santoku knives that I really like. So it's been great to have more than one. These are the pumpkins that I got. Now, they have some scabbing on them, which is why they were discards, but that does not affect the inside of the pumpkins at all. Just makes them look funky on the outside. So I'm going to do what I normally do. Same sort of style thing that I do with sweet potato. You can, butternuts are a soft enough skin that you can use a potato peeler on them if you want, but potato peelers are really hard on my wrists, and I have pigs, and pigs love bits and pieces of pumpkin and sweet potato and things like that. So I'm going to generously peel them, which means that I leave a fair bit of flesh on the skin. We have heaps of them, and it means that the piggies get a treat as well. So all I'm doing is slicing them, and then I'm going to cut the skins away like this, and I'll get a spoon to scoop any flesh from the middle that needs to be scooped, and we will dice them up. I'm going to dice them up fairly small because I want them to roast fairly quickly, being that it's already 2:15 in the afternoon and I'm really only getting moving. And I'll do a couple of full trays worth, even if I don't need them all for the soup, because they can be put aside and used for something tomorrow, some sort of baking, or the kids really want me to make some pumpkin gnocchi, which they really like, which I will do at some point with these pumpkins. It got below zero the other night. Hasn't last couple of nights, but did the other night. So because these are being stored out in the patio, I will need to grab an old quilt or something to put over the table, the boxes, so they don't get frosted and then go bad because they're freezing and defrosting. It doesn't stay cold very long here, so it's not a huge issue, but it can cause some issues with vegetables and that if they're left out. So better to just stack them all up and throw a frost cloth or a blanket over them, and that's enough in our weather to protect them, because as it doesn't stay cold for very long. It's only the few hours of morning before the sun comes up. So I'm just going to scrape the innards out. Sometimes I keep all the pumpkin seeds and we roast them and have them as a snack, but I'm not going to this time. I will probably give the seeds and stuff to the chickens, and the flesh and ends to the pigs. And then I'm just going to dice these up into smallish pieces so that it roasts nice and quickly, and I will put it on a baking tray. I'll drizzle it with a bit of oil as well. So let's see, I might only get one butternut per tray. I've got 2 trays worth, and all I'm going to do is give them a quick spritz of oil, just enough to help them cook up, like that, and a little sprinkle of salt. And then I'm going to roast these for probably 45-50 minutes probably. So I'm just going to do that with both trays, get them in the oven. Alrighty, so a nice warm bowl means that the dough has actually lifted the lid up slightly, because, as I said, nice warm bowl. So we're going to tip this out. Now if you wiggle the blade at the top of the bowl, if you wiggle this, it helps to dislodge the dough, but this is a pretty sticky dough, the brioche dough, so but it came away quite well actually. Left very little behind, so that's good. Now, alright, let me grab a dough scraper, and I did the normal, I put a little bit of flour on the mat so that I could just bring it together and make it easier to handle, though it's had some nice development in the kneading with the Thermomix, and then the nice warm proof. It feels actually really nice and bouncy, so that's good. All right, so we're just going to do smallish rolls because they're going to be dinner rolls to have with the soup. So my scales out, and I'm going to do them on a baking tray rather than on the cast iron, because the cast iron is cold, so it's not going to help with proofing otherwise. So what we might end up doing is around about sort of a 50-gram roll. Which always ends up, it's 55. And so I'm just going to shape it into a nice little bread roll shape, just like that, and place it on the baking tray, and we'll just sort them as needed for sizing as I go, because I'm not sure how many is going to need to be on there. Alright, so because everyone loves watching the dough, this is when I'll quickly answer anything that I need to answer. What did I see asked? I got asked about how many more Thermomixes I need to sell to get my bonus, and it is 3 more, but I do have some interested parties, so I'm hopeful. So thank you to everyone who has purchased one so far. Impressions on it, I'm still giving them to you. So on the new 7, I'm going to have to use it a bit before I figure out exactly what I do and don't like about it and all that sort of thing. But so far I'm actually more impressed with it than I thought I would be. So that's kind of neat. What else? I don't think there's a whole lot to catch up on because I've been talking to you guys over the last few videos, because most of them have ended up being sort of talking videos because they're shopping videos. So I feel like I've said everything I need to say for the moment. So I don't know, hopefully this video will just end up being long enough on its own that you won't need the chat portion, so I can share the bits and pieces that I've done, and we'll just see how we go. I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I need to particularly answer or share. I just been one of those days, as I said, so we shall just see how we go with length of video, and if I have to skip a Wednesday video and combine this with something else, then that's what will happen as well. I only got the grocery video up this morning, so oh, it's only Monday, so I've got all day tomorrow to add to this video for Wednesday, so we'll be fine. That's how much of a day it's been. I forgot what day it was. So anyway, I'm going to finish shaping these, get them on the tray. I'll show you once they're done. And I'm going to take them inside near the fire to puff up. Though I don't want them to puff up too quickly because I've got the pumpkin in the oven. So we need them to be ready. So I might not actually, the dough's still nice and warm. If I just sprinkle them with a little bit of semolina and use the dough mat over the top, that should keep some heat in. And the oven's running, so if I put them on top of the oven, then that should be enough, I reckon. And I won't need to take them inside because I don't want them to proof too quickly because I don't have oven to put them in. So anyway, I'll bring you back. Dough has proofed nicely into these little dinner roll type things. I'm going to sprinkle them with a bit of sesame seeds because I just believe sesame seeds make bread rolls better. And I'm the cook, so you know. So we've got a generous amount of sesame seeds on those rolls, and I'm going to throw them in the oven and pull the pumpkin out. Alrighty, and our roast pumpkin. So I'm going to let this cool. It's 3:45, so I got a bit of time. I'm going to need to do some garlic and some onions up to do with this, and then this will get pureed into the soup and that. I'll bring you back when I do that. I was contemplating though, I don't like pumpkin at all, like at all. I don't like sweet potato much either. I buy it for the kids and I cook it for the kids and Darryl because they really like it, but I'm not a fan. So I will not be eating pumpkin soup because I can't think of anything worse, to be honest. But I did find a recipe on here. I think I showed it to you when I was showing you the screen with the zucchini pasta sauce, and I'd really like to try it. So I'm going to see if the Solar can tolerate using this at the moment, because the bowl needs a clean, as well as cooking the sauce. Let's see what it does. It may turn out that this, I haven't tested the power this uses or anything yet. And it may turn out that this just uses more power than the 6, and it'll be something that we have to figure out. I don't know yet. So I'm going to try and give it a clean anyway, and then I will try cooking that sauce if it looks like I can. Alright, we're going to have a few things on the run at the same time. I have some oil in here that I'm going to add the garlic and onion to. I am really lucky, I just wanted to mention that, really lucky that I have some really good friends. Aldi had cast iron on sale on their special buys on the Saturday just gone. Bread bakers, Dutch ovens, all sorts of things in a really nice green colour. And a friend of mine went and collected a whole bunch of it for me while it was on sale. So I will collect that from her next time I am in Brisbane, to add to my cast iron collection. Alright, so I'm going to saute off the garlic and the onion, and then I'm going to add a bit of curry paste and coconut cream, and stock, and then we're going to add the pumpkin and we're going to turn it into soup. So for the moment that's going on there, and now I'm going to move over to the zucchini sauce that I'm going to make too. Right, let's try guided cooking on here for the first time. So I bookmarked the zucchini pasta sauce that I want to make. All right, now we hit start. Now it wants me to grate the parmesan. I've already got grated parmesan, so I don't need to. So I'm going to skip the grating of the parmesan, and then it says to set it aside. Again, I've already got it. A clean and dry mixing bowl. Now we're going to place a garlic clove. Now my garlic clove's significant because I love garlic. So a garlic clove into the bowl. Done. Next, we're going to chop 3 seconds on 8. So we'll hit play. Then we hit next. It says to scrape down the sides of the bowl with the spatula. All right, so we'll just scrape the edges down to get the garlic in the bottom. And then we're going to add some oil. Now apparently if you add and get to just the right amount, it'll go green and go to the next ingredient on its own. So we'll test that. So we want 50 grams. Though for some reason the scales are not working properly. Don't know what was going on with the scales there. As I said, my environment is not the most ideal for this kind of thing. So olive oil we've done. We'll just tick it off manually. Then it wants 300 grams of zucchini cut into small pieces. So I've just cut some up here, and let's see if we can get the scales to work this time. There we go, 300 grams, so it should tick it off. There we go, ticked it off as automatically done. Now I have this little handful of zucchini left, so I'm going to throw that in as well. Little sort of, you know. Then it wants a little bit of black pepper. Which we will tick off and go next. Then it wants to cook. Lid on, hit start. 10 minutes at 120 degrees at speed 1. It wants you to boil the pasta while that's happening. I'm not going to do it right this minute because I'm doing other stuff, and I'll reheat this if I need to, but I'm going to let that run for the 10 minutes. Battery on my mic is running low, of course. So we've sauteed off these onions. I did add a teaspoon of sugar and a teaspoon of salt just to get them sort of really nice and caramelly. And we're going to add half a tin of the Maisery red curry paste into there. And we're going to mix that up and toast that off for a couple of minutes. Until that curry paste is lovely and fragrant. Once that's cooked for a couple of minutes, I'm going to add all the pumpkin into it and mix it all up, get it all nice and flavoured. Then I'm going to add the stock. I'm going to stick the mic on charge for 5 minutes. So. Alright, so it cooked for the 10 minutes and now it wants me to add, I don't have any basil, which is fine, but it's all mushy in there, so that's fine. So now it wants me to add some anchovies and some cream. All right, anchovy fillets in oil. It says 5 of them. I'm just going to use this little bit of a forkful out of there. And then it wants 100 grams of oil. You have to excuse the look of my oil, sorry, of cream. Excuse my cream because it's been frozen, so it looks really lumpy. Of course, it didn't. Okay, so if you I have no idea what's going wrong with my scales. Honestly, I'd say if I push on the bench, then it really changes it. So I'm guessing that these are going to be way more of an issue on this bench, and I'm going to need to put them on a board. Anyway, next, wants you to blend it. Next, it says to scrape down the bowl. So next, and then cook for 2 minutes. So they'll be heating that cream back up to the 100, and then we will see how it tastes and looks, and we will, you know. So that was pretty simple. The screen is lovely and large. The steps are going to take a little bit of getting used to. So when it had the 3 items, it said anchovies 5, and over here in the scales section it says the number 5. So unless you tick that to go on to the next one, when I started pouring the cream in, it didn't change the scales at all, because it had that digit of 5. So until you tick through that, it doesn't come back to the scale. So that's something different. I'm going to have a lot of problems because, as I said, it's the bouncy bench. You can see I'm just pushing on the bench and you can see the camera bouncing. And that's because it's a stainless steel bench. Different heat and all the rest of it is affecting that. So my TM6 sits on a board, which alleviates a lot of that. This doesn't need a board because it has its own glider wheel, but I think will require a board for my use or a different surface to put on. So we're still, you know, figuring it out, but I am really, really loving the screen. It is pretty amazing. So we will see how we go. This is going to cook. I now need to blend the soup. So let me move you. Now, I mustn't have hit record. I pureed this up. So I did say while I was doing it that if you're into a really smooth soup, roasting the pumpkin the way I did, not ideal because it does have little bits of caramelization and stuff on it because it's small, but I wanted to get it roasted nice and quick. If I had planned ahead of time, I could have cut the pumpkins in half and just placed them face down on the baking tray, and then there wouldn't be those charred bits and it'd all be smooth and creamy. But it has pureed up fine with the stick blender. I did just add a little bit more coconut cream to it. Darryl's going to taste it for me. I don't do pumpkin soup at all, as I said, so I have no interest in tasting it. So, and they're the ones who are going to eat it. Alrighty, it is Tuesday morning and I did not get anywhere near enough done that I wanted to do yesterday. So I've got a bunch to do, but it's already after 12 because I've been working on the computer and stuff until now. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some zucchini bread. I am going to, can you turn that on to preheat for me?
Just 1-0?
Yeah. I am going to try out my new gratery thing that I got from Costco. I could use my Thermomix to grate it, but we have been having some power issues lately, so if I can avoid using that, then that would be handy. And look at that, that's the storage for the blades. That is very handy because generally speaking I mostly just use the bigger grating blade, so having storage for the rest is cool. Right, so
What's that?
the pusher.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the recipe that I use uses 3 to 4 cups of grated zucchini. Sorry, I had a knife. And I don't squeeze it or anything. And it makes 2 loaves, so that is the plan.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so it's definitely not sticking to my bench very well, and a lot of that is going to be the fact that my bench is concave. Let's see if we can get it to stick to a board, and I'll turn it so that I can show it to you. Doesn't seem to have like I feel like that undoes. It's a little bit better than it was. All right, so but it seems to grate really well, which is of course, I'm going to be turning it opposite to show you from this side, which is, it's all right, the bench is clean. I cleaned it before we started. So yes, this is going to work quite well. Should be fairly easy to clean. I've got enough pans that I can probably do a double batch of this, so I'm going to do that because, is it easier for you to do it this way because you're left-handed?
Yeah.
So because I've got all the zucchini, I'm just going to do a double batch. I don't have much room in my freezer at the moment, so I may as well do it now. So we'll just grate up enough for 2 batches. All right, so I ended up with about 625 grams of zucchini, which ended up being about 6-7 loosely packed cups, which is around about what I normally do. So we got 4, this is for 4 loaves. So we got 625 there. Sonnet's going to crack me some eggs. You can use the zucchini bowl. Sonnet's going to crack me half a dozen eggs to go in here. Now this is a sweet bread. We are doing it sweet. Now I bought some coconut sugar on clearance a while back, a big 10 kilo bag that was short dated. It's sugar, so you know. And I hadn't pulled it out until now, but it will make really good flavor for this. So we need it to be like, it's a zucchini bread. It's supposed to be sweet. We're going to use some cinnamon and stuff too, but I don't want to overdo it. So 1 cup of sugar is around about 200, though the coconut sugar is a bit lighter. We might do 250 in this one. You can always put a bit of spread on it if it needs something a little bit sweeter, but we'll do 250 grams of the coconut sugar. Then we need cinnamon.
Kavik used to tell me that cinnamon started with a S, and I was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon.
I'm going to do a tablespoon of cinnamon. Probably 2, because that wasn't very heaped, and cinnamon's tasty in something like this. We're going to do a teaspoon of salt, and it says half a teaspoon, but anyway, it looks like a teaspoon to me. We do baking powder and bicarb. We can do equal amounts. I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do 3 of those because that measurement seems a bit off, and 3 of the bicarb. And then, or a tablespoon of each probably would have been adequate. All right, I'm going to put some vanilla in, and then we're going to put some oil in, and then we're going to mix that through, and then we're going to add the flour. So Ideally, I would have done this in 2 separate bowls, wet in one, dry in another, but I don't have 2 large bowls to clean, and I just will make it work. So is there a wooden spoon or something? Or if you can find the paddle for the KitchenAid, can do it in the KitchenAid. Located the paddle for the KitchenAid, so we might do it in the KitchenAid. That'll make life a little bit easier. Though I don't think the KitchenAid is plugged in at the moment, but we'll get there. And then I'm going to add 6 cups-ish of flour. So we're going to do what, 900 grams of flour. And we'll see what the texture's like after that. And I'm going to get this in the oven, and then I'm going to strip the rest of those chickens that I still haven't done, and today it has to be done today. So I'm going to strip those. We'll do some for lunch probably, and the rest will go bagged up for the freezer. Can you plug it in for me? All right, let's get this wet mixed, mostly wet mixed. Just combined those eggs and stuff, and then we will add the flour. So all right, I'm going to do 600 in here, start it mixing, and then I'm going to add 300 to a different bowl so that I can add it in once this has been moved around a bit. I'm not doing this the most efficient way today. Yeah, that's why I didn't put it all in.
It's just a little bit so.
I haven't put the oil in. I just realized that's why it's struggling so much. Oh, today is looking to be
An annoying one?
a great day. So, can I have that measuring cup, the 1 cup, please? So, we use 2 cups of oil of choice here. I'm just using olive oil. You could use coconut oil, you could use avocado oil, you could use vegetable oil, whatever it is that you want to use.
They're all neat on the inside-ish, so they just need like a half
Now we don't want to overmix this, so I'm going to just stop that there and use a spatula to do any last bits. So it's a nice thick batter, this one, and which you want to allow for because the zucchini will release liquids as it cooks, so you don't want the batter to be too thin initially. So the texture looks good to me. I'm just going to get these bits of flour that haven't mixed through, and then we're going to divide it into these 4 tins. Now, I haven't made it quite like this before, so I don't know what the weight of each tin ends up being, so we'll figure that out. But all right, had an issue with dog, so got distracted. I got 4. I just put evenly into 4 tins. We will see how it cooks up. As I said, I haven't made it like this in ages. What I was saying, I think, before I got interrupted, was that there's certain things that I cook that I can tell you the ingredients, the ratios and everything off the top of my head, and I know exactly how it's going to turn out. This is something that I don't do anywhere near often enough, so it'll be what it'll be. So I'm going to throw all 4 of these in the oven. All right, next thing I need to do is these chickens. Now, this is day 4. They really should have been done yesterday or the day before. Day 4 is fine. We're going to throw it straight in the freezer, what we don't eat right now. But I really should have done these the last couple of days. But because we use a chest fridge, our fridge runs a whole lot colder than an average fridge. So the bottoms of them actually, on a lot of them, the juice is a bit frozen in the bottom. So, but yes, I really should have done these the other day. We have eaten a few of them, and I've done them as we've eaten them, but I just haven't got to it. So, which is partly why I don't tend to buy them, because they do require fairly immediate work, and I just don't always have that time. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to put all the bones back in the bag for making stock out of, and then I'm going to pull all the meat off. I'm just going to stick it in a bowl at the moment. I will dice it up to be a bit smaller, and then I'll portion it out into bags that can be used with soups for lunches or with pasta dishes or whatever. Just easily heated up and used that way. So super simple. Just get it all pulled apart. I'll bring you back when I'm done. All right, and 2 big bowls of the chicken. All the carcasses are in freezer bags. I will make stock with them probably next week. It'll probably be before I get to it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to shred this up into smallish pieces and then bag it up to freeze. So this will be good as pizza toppings or in savoury pastry things. It makes good chicken pot pies, any sort of thing like that. So just having it in the freezer will be handy. The Costco chickens aren't particularly seasoned, so it's a very mild salt, mild flavoured chicken, so it works well to put in lots of other things, just as the filler meat for it, rather than adding significant flavour. But the carcasses make really, really nice stock with the roasting of them and the little bits of skin and fat that are left on them, so they're worth the purchase for that reason. Right, so those 6 chickens, I did it in 500 gram lots, one slightly smaller because the bag was cut smaller, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8-ish. So 4-ish kilos of shredded chicken to go in the freezer to use with meals. So it's definitely worth so the chickens were $7 each. I got 8 of them, so we're talking $56 worth. And then there's 4 kilos here, plus we ate 2 of them, and I will get a good 8-10 litres of stock out of it as well. So they are good value. All right, so this was the breads. I'm going to get these put away, but I thought I would slice one first. There we go. Perfect. Lovely and moist. Quick bread. Probably could have been sweetened a touch more, but it's still tasty. Dinner tonight, I'm going to do the pork belly. Now, one of the flaws of the monthly shopping is that you buy some things that are treats that you want, and if they're not particularly freezable, which pork belly isn't really freezable, you can, but it's not ideal, then you have to sort of eat them quickly when you first do the shop. But there's lots of things in that list, and so you end up gorging. It's like with the fresh veggies and stuff, you end up gorging a little bit initially on all the really nice stuff, but that's life. So we're going to do pork belly for dinner, and it's about 3 o'clock, so I'm starting it now so that we can get it sort of fall apart. So I'm just scoring it. This one hasn't been scored. And then I'm going to put a bit of oil on it and a bit of salt, and I'll put it in a preheated oven that's preheated up really nice and hot for the first half an hour, and then after that I will put potatoes underneath it and turn it down for the next sort of 2 hours. Now, I probably should have started it a little bit earlier, but it'll be fine. So just salting that, oiling that, and then generously salting that, and then I'm going to put it in, not in the plastic obviously, in the oven at sort of 220, 230 for about half an hour. The other thing that I hadn't got to, which I really need to, is the broccoli. So the broccoli, I've been very lucky that the weather has been very cool. So it's been in ice. It's been on it's been in its styrofoam container, and with ice. God, can't English. This one obviously had a bug that was in part of it, so I'm just cutting away the bug eaten section and just filling these Tupperware and other branded Kmart and all the rest of it, all I tend to do is take the stems off and cut the heads in half, and it's just about fitting as much as I can in the smaller containers, and then that way they're in pieces that I can do whatever I want with later on. And if I store them correctly in these Tupperware containers, then they generally last 2-3 weeks. They might start going a little bit yellow, separating a little bit in the florets, but generally speaking, they're pretty good for 2 or 3 weeks. So that's what I tend to do. Just cut them into large chunks and place them in the various veggie containers, and try and eat. And we tend to, gorge a little bit initially. So I will cook some of this up to have with the pork belly tonight as well. And then I will try and get the majority of the rest of it in containers. We have already eaten quite a large quantity of it, and I also gave a couple of kilos to my neighbour who I give some veggies to each month when I buy them as well. So we have eaten a decent amount out of what we had, but 8 kilos of broccoli is a fair amount of broccoli, so which is why we do the way we do. So I'm just going to get all of this into these containers, and then I might bring you back once I'm sorting out the pork belly, but I don't know that I'm going to do much else in the kitchen today other than put the zucchini bread away, though I may make a little bit of a glaze for that zucchini bread. It is very, very mildly sweet, almost savoury. So if I want the kids to eat it, then, and eat it all with gusto, then I probably need something a little bit sweeter on. I probably could have put some chocolate chips or something in it. I didn't think about it at the time. But I might do a little bit of a glaze or something to go over it, just to make it that little bit sweeter. But for the moment, I'm going to get this done. I lie. When we were checking veggies and stuff, there was a pumpkin that was left in an esky, unknowingly left in an esky, and it's got a couple of spots on it that are a little bit sus. So what I'm going to do is take those bits off before they have a chance to take hold at all. And because I've got the oven on for the pork belly and stuff tonight, I'm just going to stick these in a tray to roast up while that's going, and we'll use it cold tomorrow for something. I don't care what, but again, I just want to use it before it goes bad. The pigs would thoroughly enjoy it, but I do try and make sure that the humans have the opportunity to eat the food, if possible, before the animals. So all I'm going to do is leave it in some big chunks, take these little stringy bits out of the middle, any of the marks that were on the skin, and lay these down on a baking tray with a bit of oil and salt, and just let it roast. There's nothing on the insides of the pumpkins. The insides are perfectly fine. Just a few incursions on the skins that, if it was left for any span of time, would permeate or penetrate into the pumpkin, and we don't want that. So other than those chunks there, everything else looks fine. So I'm just going to scoop the middle out of these and put them on a baking tray, stick them in the oven while the pork belly is cooking, because may as well use the space in the oven. And they can eat this tonight for dinner with the pork belly if they want, or it can go in the fridge to be used as roasted pumpkin for something tomorrow. It would probably work in the sweet potato brownies instead of as pumpkin, or pumpkin scones or pumpkin bread or anything like that. So that's the plan. I just need to find, I've got a big spoon here that only has a bit of ghee on it, so that'll work. And get all this out and get it on a tray. So yes, I'm going to throw this in the oven too. My camera is nearly flat, so After this, I'm going to go in and do some computer work probably while it's charging, and I will come back to show you dinner and stuff tonight, and then this will be the end of this particular video. I'll edit it tonight and put it out for tomorrow morning. So yeah. Alright, so I just checked the internal temperature of the pork belly and it's at 98, so it's pretty much done. I've just turned it down. It's sitting in there until animals are fed and stuff. I haven't completely cleaned my bench yet. There's still bits of pumpkin everywhere, but I'm going to get the last of this broccoli that didn't fit in the containers, cooking in the cast iron, just cutting it up into chunks, and then I will saute it off with a bit of butter and salt, and then we just eat it like that. We all really like it done like that, so super simple. Pumpkin was done, so I left it face down with the skin on, so I just need to peel the skin off that's charred, and we've got fresh cooked pumpkin underneath, so whoever wants that can have that. Right, and here's my pork belly. I forgot to show it the last time, and people were very upset with me. So this is the pork belly and potatoes, all crackled up. So we'll get that out on a board and cut that one up. What do we normally do? The crackle. And then I'm just going to slice it along the score marks, and it will be shared out between everyone. And then we've got the pumpkin and the potatoes and the broccoli. So there we go.